Welcome to the Granula Mural Dedication Celebration. My name is Julie Acom, and I am chairperson of the most creative, civic-minded, hardworking committee I am so proud to be a part of, the Dansville Artworks Mural Committee. Salome Fiara, Susan DeMuth, Jennifer Luce, Donna Nagel, Sonny Albert, and Lori Welch. Can you just give them a round of applause, please? We would like to dedicate the mural to Dr. James Caleb Jackson, Mrs. Lucretia Jackson, his wife, and Dr. Harriet Austin, who later became their adopted daughter. In Jackson's own words, "Of all the substances which I have ever used as food, I have never found another so good as white winter wheat, which was grown here in the Genesee Valley. So became the first American ready-to-eat cereal, Granula." To begin with, I would like to introduce Josi Opolentisima, our muralist from Rochester, New York. Josi, would you please come up? You guys. We were very excited to have a local muralist create this wonderful piece of artwork. Josi?
Thank you so much, Dansville, for the opportunity to get to learn about your history, what makes this particular area of Livingston County so special, and getting to create a piece to honor the history of your community. It was a lot of fun to imagine what this could become and work with this committee to design the piece and then to get it up into real life. And it was a lot of fun to meet many of you during the painting experience. And I just wanted to say thank you for your warm hospitality and for just valuing the arts here in the community. It's obviously represented through so many people coming out today to celebrate this. So I just wanted to say a big thank you and what an honor it was to be able to create this for you all.
We would like to take this opportunity to recognize those people and organizations that without their contributions and support, this beautiful mural would have not have been possible. Could Karen Canning, the intern executive director, please come up? Thank you to the Genesee Valley Council of the Arts for awarding a grant to help us finance this project.
Thank you, and let's introduce, I'm Karen Canning, and for any of you that know our director, she's out on medical leave, non-emergency, needs to get her knees fixed. So I'm very happy to be here. I've been with the Arts Council for almost 30 years now. And for any of you that don't know, the funding for this mural comes from a program through New York State Council on the Arts. And it's called the Statewide Community Regrant Program, and it's been around for decades. And so it's work, basically the state says, we're going to give you this money to re-grant in your own communities because you all know much better locally where that money should go. So it's a really wonderful program. And in 2025, we received actually additional funds through something called the Aid to Localities program through New York State. And so that was targeted for Livingston and Monroe counties where we re-grant the funds to support art experiences for this year. So with that, we introduced the Arts Ignite grant and invited applications for projects that supported original artwork and involved local residents through public programming and or the development of creative process of the community, creative process of the artwork. And in the Dansville Artworks application for this mural, they really checked all those boxes and much more. Our grants are reviewed by local panelists, and that review panel gave it a very high score, and so we were thrilled to grant the full amount requested, which supported every aspect of the mural's creation. Along with all of you, we have been really excited to see the progress, to be introduced to the artist, and invited to talks at the Sunrise Restaurant, and to witness the great turnout at the Community Painting Day. This project embodies a truth that we at the Arts Council hold high, that the creation and enjoyment of arts is integral to being a fully healthy human. It's a value that was present in the unique program of the Home on the Hill and later the Castle on the Hill. It continues today in Dansville and your community's commitment to promoting cultural vitality, education, and engagement, and creating new opportunities to support artists. So thank you for all that you are doing. Your good work helps us to show our State Arts Council that these funds are needed, they're impactful, and that they should keep supporting us to do the work to support all of you. And thank you again, and we hope to do much more work with you in the future.
At this time, we would like to present certificates to the wonderful community members who gave private donations so we were able to meet our financial goal and obligations for this project. When I call your name, would you please come up and accept the certificate of appreciation and stand for a moment so we can get your picture. Julie Miller. She's representing the Dansville Women's Civic Club. Guys, do you want to stand over there? Teresa Deering. Sherry and Gary Kramer. Barbara Criley. Sherry Riley. Okay, Scott Tracy, Shirley Tracy, and Dawn Post. And Lindsay. Their donation was in memory of their father and husband, Dick Tracy. Sheila Van Auken. Her donation was in memory of her husband, Gary. Those that were not able to join us today are Dr. and Mrs. Jane Sanford and David W. Smith, in memory of his mother, Ruth Bork Smith. David has also generously purchased 4-ounce bags of Granula from Dansville Granola Company to be given out today to guests following the presentation. They will be at Susan's table. We are so very lucky and truly grateful to have these wonderful individuals in our community. Your private donations will ensure that Dansville's history will not be forgotten for future generations. So thank you, everybody. A gracious thank you to the mayor and the village board for allowing us to close the road during the painting of the mural, and to Brian Fairbrother and his crew for their support and helping us along the way for the entire process. And a thank you to the Dansville Public Library for your unending support during this project and celebration. So thank you out there. And much thanks to Louise Wadsworth for always being there with advice and enthusiasm for our vision. We appreciate her more than she will ever know. The mural committee started meeting in the fall of 2022 with much excitement and energy after experiencing Live Cold Walls that summer. We worked diligently for 2 years and received a grant and a private donation for 2024. The Clara Barton mural was painted. Our commitment continued to creating more public art about Dansville's history. With renewed enthusiasm and determination, the committee started planning for the 2026 mural. Well, we can't have a mural without a building. So, could I please have Spiro and Rebecca and Ann Matrusis please come up and accept your certificate of participation.
Rebecca has her hands full over there, but thank you all for coming. We would like to thank the Dansville Artworks Mural Committee for their 2 years of volunteer work in making this mural a reality, to securing a grant, a muralist, donors, and endless hours of planning. Thank you to all the donors and Genesee Valley Council on the Arts who financially contributed to this wonderful project. Our family is proud to be part of Dansville's history. Josi, you did a wonderful job. We're thrilled to have such a beautiful mural on our building. Thank you all.
The Matrusis family, owners of 188 Main Street, were on board to make the renovations on the wall for the mural. Thank you for a beautiful canvas that our muralists used to create this wonderful artwork. It can be seen from 5 different sites as you're driving down Main Street. Be prepared, Dansville. We want to do more historic murals. Now, how does these projects get done? Dedicated volunteers and coordination efforts of those who we partner with. Dansville Artworks has been doing this for the past 12 years for our community. Would Dansville Artworks Board President Samantha Davis please come up?
Good morning. For those who I haven't gotten to meet yet, I think there's quite a few of you. I'm Samantha Davis. I'm the current board president of Dansville Artworks, and I've been involved with the organization since it started in 2014, one way or the other. Before 2020, Dansville Artworks had a physical arts center space where we could offer art classes, open mic nights, and run a gift shop and display exhibits. Then, like so many organizations, COVID changed everything. But instead of pausing, we adapted. Dansville Artworks involved into a more supportive role in our community, continuing to be a place where creativity can grow and where local artists can be seen, heard, and celebrated. Today, much of what we do centers around projects that bring art into public spaces and strengthen community connection. That includes our Fairy Doors of Dansville, our Mural Committee, and partnerships with local artists because our goal is simple: to be a conduit for artistic dreams and to help ideas become something the whole community can experience. And that brings us to today. We're gathered to open the Dansville Granula mural and an installation that represents creativity, collaboration, and community pride. So today, as we celebrate the Granula mural, I want to pause and recognize something important about our town. Dansville has a history, some of which may feel forgotten or overlooked, but it's a history we should be proud of. It shaped who we are and part of what makes this community strong. As we celebrate the Granula mural today, let it be a reminder that our past doesn't just stay in the background and inspires us with what we can create next. It calls us forward towards creativity, connection, and a shared sense of pride that we can see and experience right here in Dansville. The mural didn't happen by accident. It came from many hands, many conversations, and a shared commitment to making something beautiful and meaningful for our town. I would like to take a moment to thank our mural committee, Julie, Susan, Salome, Jennifer, Sunny, Donna, and Lori Welch. Without all of their hard work, the creation of this mural and the Clara Barton mural before it would not have been possible. And a special thank you to Josi for designing and painting the Granula mural. Your talent and dedication are clearly visible in every detail, and we're grateful that you brought your vision to life. To everyone who helped in any way, whether through planning, fundraising, support, guidance, or showing up, thank you. Community art is never just about the final image on the wall. It's about the relationships built along the way and the message that we're better together when we make space for creativity. At Dansville Artworks, we believe art matters because it connects people. It sparks conversation, it brightens everyday life, and it gives us something lasting to share. So today, as we look at the Granula mural, I hope you take a moment to really notice the energy, the story it tells. Let it remind us that Dansville is a place where imagination belongs, here and where the local artists can shape the future of our community one mural at a time. Thank you again for being here, and congratulations to everyone that made this mural possible today.
At the conclusion of today's event, there will be a light refreshment of yogurt and granola. Much thanks to the donations of the Dansville Granola Company, owned by Mary Aliotto and the Sunrise Restaurant. Also available are Clara 8 Granula magnets and waterproof decals with a donation that goes to our future Dansville historic murals. Now we have a very special presentation. This mural also has another significant place in the history of Dansville. This is the original site of the Granula factory. Please welcome Quinn Golden, Dansville Area Historical Society President.
Thank you very kindly, and thank you very much for everybody for joining us today. Before we unveil this marker, and David Gilbert is going to come up in a moment to tell us the story of Granula and its connection to Dansville, I'd like to take a few minutes to explain exactly what this marker represents and what it takes to get one. This marker was made possible through a grant from the William G. Pomeroy Foundation, which is a private philanthropic organization based out of Syracuse. We also have to thank the Village of Dansville for their support in allowing us to have the space on Main Street to place that, and to thank Mayor Barry Hayward for supporting this operation. Also need to thank Brian Fairbrother and his crew of the Dansville department, and them actually putting in the posts that this marker sits on today. Now, the Pomeroy Foundation was established in 2005 by entrepreneur and philanthropist Bill Pomeroy, and today it is the nation's leading funder of historical markers. It has awarded more than 3,200 marker grants in 49 states and DC. And it's one of several markers that we're lucky enough to have right here in Dansville. But one of the things that make the Pomeroy marker particularly significant is you can't just decide that this happened and it's a really great event and we need a marker. You actually have to prove it. So the Pomeroy Foundation requires historical claims appearing on its markers to be supported by primary source documentation. Applications go through rigorous review and a vetting process. The foundation describes that commitment to its historical accuracy as the gold standard. Now, every community has stories that have been repeated for generations. Some are totally accurate, some have changed a little bit with the retelling, and occasionally a really good story is just a really good story. And although they're wonderful stories, they don't qualify for historic markers. You have to get it right. So a marker like this is different. When we put something permanently on a public street and we tell visitors, residents, and future generations that this is what happened here, we have to get it right. We have to document it. This particular marker is part of the Pomeroy Foundation's Hungry for History program, which commemorates significant local and regional food history across the United States. And Granula certainly qualifies for that. And documenting these markers we will. To quote Julie, stand by, because there are many more coming in our future. Now, developed and marketed right here in Dansville in the 1860s, Granula helped to inspire generations of breakfast cereals all across the country and became part of a much larger chapter in American food history. The story of exactly how Granula came to be is actually more interesting and a lot more complicated than simply saying that one person invented it. As in everything in history, it was never about one person. Its roots reach back to Glen Haven, New York, and the work of Lucretia Jackson, who helped pioneer the kitchen methods behind it. And she published a foundational recipe for its forerunner called rusk in her 1867 Health Reformers Cookbook. But that part of the story, David Gilbert is going to tell you. And, that part, David Gilbert's going to tell you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce somebody who really needs little introduction to Dansville. David Gilbert is a 1977 graduate of the Dansville Central Schools, and he has devoted decades to researching, preserving, and writing about the history of our community. David is an author of several books on Dansville history and has served in the Dansville Area Historical Society for many, many years as a curator, researcher, and author. His work has documented the extraordinary range of our history and has helped to preserve many of the stories that we know about Dansville today. In 2025, David was inducted into the Dansville Central School Wall of Pride in recognition of his work as an author and a local historian. There is probably no one in the world better suited to take us beyond the few words that are written on the front of that marker to commemorate this event into the much larger and complicated story behind Granula. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our own David Gilbert.
Thank you, Quinn. I think every community, large or small, would like to think that they made a big difference in the world outside, even if the world outside isn't aware of it. And Dansville has several reasons to think this. A couple of years ago, we commemorated one of them, Clara Barton and the Red Cross. But that's not the only one. Dansville also had a role to play in the agricultural history of our nation with Thomas Riley and his revolutionary plant food rapid grow. Maybe we'll see a marker about that sometime in the future. But today, let's talk about cereal. Before the Civil War, the American breakfast was largely a fried meat and potatoes affair, usually a salted meat like ham or bacon. Cornmeal was also a major breakfast staple in the form of grits, corn pone, Johnny cakes, hoe cakes, ash cakes, corn dodgers, whatever they served up in your neck of the woods. Cereal, which of course is why we're here this morning, was something that most people didn't like and didn't like to fix. Fixing hot cereal like cracked wheat or barley was a laborious task, usually involving several hours in a stovetop double boiler. Oatmeal, which didn't take as long to make, enjoyed a certain popularity among the Scotch and Irish, but the English hated this stuff and fed it to criminals as part of their punishment. Generally, oatmeal was regarded as fit only for small children, the sick, and the elderly, people whose stomachs couldn't handle a manlier breakfast. Doctors prescribed oatmeals for their patients, and it was sold at apothecaries. Most North American travelers, wrote author Gerald Carson, whose book Cornflake Crusade is here at the museum, would not have known what the dish was if offered oatmeal at a public table. The ascendancy of cereal to its current place of prominence began with the rise of vegetarianism, espoused by Sylvester Graham of graham cracker fame and his disciples. Places like James Caleb Jackson's Dansville Water Cure, Our Home on the Hillside, advocated the shunning of unhealthy foods like meat, sugar, salt, coffee, tea, white flour, and alcohol. The obvious problem was, once you took all those things out of your diet, what was left? Fruits and vegetables, of course, but you could only partake of what was available when they were in season, which meant slim pickings in winter and spring, beyond what the missus was able to preserve in canning jars. That left mostly grain products in the forms of breads and biscuits and cooked cereal, which were sorely lacking in variety and taste appeal. Some new options were needed. That was where Dr. Jackson made his mark in history with the stuff he named Granula. Gerald Carson puts the date of its invention at around 1863, although its forebears, as previously mentioned, were cooked up at the Glen Haven water facility on Skaneateles Lake. In his advertisements, Dr. Jackson explained that granula was, and I quote, prepared by a special process original with us, embracing the use of all the constituents of the grain, which is the best white winter wheat grown in the famous Genesee Valley country. He served granula to his patients, many of whom developed a craving for the stuff. The growing demand required a relocation of the manufacturing of granula to a building on Main Street, the Granula Block, located about where the Sunrise is now. In our museum, we have one of the cans in which granula was sold, and those of you wearing a t-shirt can turn around and show everyone. And you can buy a t-shirt on by Main Street. A tin container similar to those cans which they used to sell loose tea, as well as a packing crate that held 24 such cans. The can bears an illustration of the ever-familiar brick castle. That and the use of the name Jackson Sanatorium allows us to date the can to 1890 or thereafter. Granula was the world's first manufactured cold breakfast cereal. And like most things that are the first of their kind, it was quite rudimentary. Simply put, granula was crushed up graham crackers. There was a certain baking technique involved. The simple flour and water dough was rolled into a sheet, baked, broken up into chunks, and then sent back into the oven for a second time, slowly oven dried until all the moisture was drawn away, then crushed into gravelly bits. Now it was ready to eat. Only really it wasn't. You might break your teeth if you tried to eat it right out of the can. At the very least, you had to pour milk on it and let it soak for 20 minutes or so. But by far the preferred method was to let the granula and milk mixture soak overnight in the icebox, to really let the cereal absorb the moisture, then add cream and sugar to taste. So, strictly speaking, granula was not a ready-to-eat breakfast cereal. Nevertheless, Dr. Jackson's Pioneer cereal heralded a major change in the eating habits of countless Americans. Now, for the first time ever, you could wake up, get out of bed, and eat a bowl of cereal immediately. No gathering wood, no firing up the stove, no boiling the water. There was your breakfast, all ready and waiting for you. Minds must have boggled. An idea this good was bound to be ripped off. If you take a closer look at the Granula can, you may notice there's always a line over the letter U in Granula to serve as a useful pronunciation guide. That's because a rival product, Granola with an O, was being made at John Harvey Kellogg's Sanitarium at Battle Creek, Michigan. His recipe was a bit more sophisticated than James Caleb Jackson's, consisting of a mixture of wheat flour, cornmeal, and oatmeal, but was otherwise the same as granola. In fact, he called it granola until 1881, when the threat of a lawsuit prompted Dr. Kellogg to make his minor name change. Before too long, however, both granola and granola would become marginalized in the marketplace by a slew of new cereals that were more advanced in their recipes and, one assumes, better tasting. First up was shredded wheat, invented in 1890 by a Denver businessman named Henry D. Perky, as he was trying to come up with a food that would help him out with his diarrhea. Then in 1994 came Dr. Kellogg's most famous product, Corn Flakes, followed in 1897 by C.W. Post's Grape Nuts, which in appearance is the closest thing to granola you'll find on today's store shelves. In the meantime, oatmeal had graduated from the drugstore shelves to be joined by cream of wheat in popularity among cooked cereals. There would still be enough die-hard granola enthusiasts to keep its manufacture going on a small scale into the 20th century, until the last batch was whipped up sometime around 1921. And that should have been the end of the story, except, of course, that the name granola got a second lease on life when it was reassigned to a rolled oats-based snack food that burst onto the scene in the 1960s and became hugely popular with the hippie crowd. This prompted the Wall Street Journal, the self-appointed arch nemesis of all things anti-establishment, to write a scornful article on granola in 1972 entitled, "What Tastes Terrible and Doubles in Sales Every 60 Days?" I'm sure if they'd eaten Dansville's granola, they would have had a change of heart. The breakfast cereal industry, in the meantime, has become a veritable behemoth, with sales exceeding $7 billion annually, offering up products of widely varying nutritional value and leading one to wonder what James Caleb Jackson would have made of it all. He'd have mixed feelings, I expect. He might be okay with the likes of Cheerios and Wheat Chex, but it's hard to believe he'd be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Not that I want to close for you folks, but I believe that we are completed. And at the moment, the weather appears to be cooperating. No, it's not cooperating? Well, whether or not, we are going out to unveil the marker on Main Street, and we'd love to have you all join us. Thank you again. So it's a great deal of pleasure that I have the privilege to unveil and present to the village of Dansville the very next in a long line of historic markers, this one for the product Granula. Thank you very much. And this marker will be here long beyond any of us.